See if it works. I'll just record everything.
And that's another thing. I was definitely
Better remove all these tripping hazards.
So you did the workout this morning? How'd it go?
It's good.
I feel like I ruined it.
It wasn't actually as much
Oh, you break it down.
as I, remember. So yeah, it was
Oh yeah, that's good.
it's at like 90 RPM. But for like 15
All right.
Seconds.
So,
Marker? Like, do I need a?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I'm not going to say anything profound during this, so I don't think we need markers. So I'm going to stand up here and BS my way through this. Informal. Oh, yes. Thank you. There.
You don't want some gangster rap.
So start with disclaimer. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a nutritionist. I'm just some guy who read some books and applied it, and it worked. So hopefully I can help you. Disclaimer number 2. General disclaimer before starting any nutrition plan, especially if you have a medical issue, talk to a doctor. Okay. And disclaimer number 3, if you hear something that I say that you think is bullshit, call me on it, okay? I'm confident that everything I say isn't risky or dangerous or weird. There's no magic pill or magic shake or whatever.
Detox tea.
There's no detox tea,
Okay.
no magic mushrooms. CBD oil doesn't cure everything. So if I say something weird, stop me and ask me. Those are the big disclaimers I want to cover. Okay. The other thing, so I ran everybody's numbers. I'm unique. And I'm giving you my numbers and my examples. You're also unique, okay? So if your numbers are a lot different than mine, that's expected because we're all different. As you saw when I entered your numbers, it's based on the age really doesn't matter and the height really doesn't matter. It's based on body weight and activity, okay? For me, I'm 175. I'm very active and I'm trying to gain weight. So my numbers are through the roof. Okay. Depending on your goals, and just keep that in mind. Depending on your goals, that's what's going to adjust those numbers. Okay. I don't eat meat. I'm not pushing an agenda on you. But I just want you to know that. So when I eat a cheeseburger, it's not an actual cheeseburger, okay? I'm not going to push any agenda on you. I don't have an agenda. It's just a personal choice. But just know that I'm not eating probably better sources of protein because I don't want to. Cool?
Oh, got a question already.
Yeah.
Sri wanted me to ask, what made you make that choice?
I didn't want to eat animals anymore. It's not a health thing. It's my story. We can talk about that. So I lived in California. It was right before I got out of the military, about 6 months. December of 2006. Me and my ex-wife used to go to this Italian restaurant. And one night I ordered the veal parm, which I had gotten many times before. And I was eating, I was like, what am I eating? You know, I know what I'm eating, but I didn't want to eat it anymore, and I couldn't finish it that night. And from then I stopped eating red meat, and then about 6 months, that was 6 months before, about a year later I stopped eating all meat. And I've gone back and forth between vegan and vegetarian since then, so 13 years. So personal, yeah, that's the story. and some of my best friends are beef farmers. So nothing against it. I mean, make the decisions that you want. That's why I did it. Okay.
And your sausage is what?
Beyond Meat, same thing. It's just, so my meat comes from usually either soy, pea, wheat proteins mixed up together. And then you can get into arguments, well, isn't that all just processed garbage? Yeah, but I've been doing it for 13 years. I found the best products of that type that I can find. So it's really comparable to what actual meat would have in it.
Was that expensive? I mean, for you, is it more expensive than if you were to just buy?
I spend a lot of money on food, yeah. I don't know if it's more expensive compared to like a high quality, like a grass-fed and finished beef or pasture-raised chicken, stuff like that. It's probably comparable. But yeah, I spend a lot of money on food. Anything else? I'm an open book. I don't
But
care.
probably not a lot of money on eating out because you don't find those things eating out.
Right, it's hard to eat out, especially here. But there's a couple restaurants that are pretty good. Noodle Zip I like. And then everywhere has an option usually. But when I see a menu, I have one thing to pick from instead of 10. So, we'll get started. When you buy a car, what is one of the key things that you look at? Mileage. Excellent. That's the exact answer I was looking for. Gas mileage, okay? Now, maybe the gas mileage, maybe you're buying an F-350 and you don't care about gas mileage because you need it to work, whatever. But it's still something you think about. And what a macro-based diet nutrition plan does is it helps you figure out what your gas mileage is. How many calories you need a day, and the breakdown of those calories between macros. In the words of Donnie Shanko, what the F is a macro? I'll get into that. I want you to think gas mileage though, not now, so now we're an engine. We don't just need fuel, gasoline or diesel. We also need coolant and oil. So we have three sources of fluid that we need, okay? For us, our macros are protein, fat, and carbohydrates. And I'll get into those specifically in a second. Now, I think everybody probably knows the Greg Glassman quote. Eat meat and vegetables, seeds and nuts, some fruit, little starch, no sugar. Keep intakes to levels that sustain activity but not body fat. I messed that word up, but it's something like that. Okay? Now there's a second part to that that a lot of people don't know. And I wrote it down because I knew I was going to mess it up. It has to be adequate to the task of, so eating like that is adequate to preventing diet-related diseases, okay? But that doesn't give you anything for body composition. Okay, that's kind of the baseline. A more accurate and precise prescription is necessary to optimize physical performance. When he was referring to that, he talks about the zone diet. The zone is excellent, but it's kind of tough, I'll be honest with you. But the zone is a macro-based diet. Dr. Barry Sears adjusts it a little. He has a block system, which is a little more complicated. I'm not going to talk about that. I'm just going to talk about macros. I'll mention, I'm going to go through the basis of how the macros are calculated without getting into specifics, just so you know where all this is coming from, okay? But if the zone is something you're interested in, it's excellent. It's a great nutrition plan. I use kind of a hybrid version of the zone and flexible diet. I kind of boosted my fat a little bit, which is what the zone recommends once you hit maintenance level to sustain activity. So I kind of fudged the numbers a bit, and I'm working on myself. I would not recommend anybody else do that unless they kind of know. It's because I'm being my own guinea pig. Okay. So, what's a macro? When you eat, there's two types of nutrients: micro nutrients and macro nutrients. Micronutrients: vitamins and minerals. You do not need these in big amounts. Here we're talking about micrograms, sometimes international units, very small amounts. Vitamin B12, vitamin A, vitamin D, zinc, that type of stuff. They're absolutely essential, but they're not major sources of calories, which comes to micronutrients. Sorry, macronutrients. Protein, fat, and carbohydrates. Those are your macronutrients. Okay? These are sources of calories. Protein, 4 calories per gram. Fat, a whopping 9 calories per gram. Carbs, 4 calories per gram. So what do each of those do? Protein, necessary for muscle maintenance, growth, recovery. It's also involved in DNA repair and synthesis. What else? I wrote them all down just so we know. Enzymes. Proteins are involved in enzymes for chemical reactions in your body. Immune system and cell structure and function. So protein is probably, and you'll see by your numbers, protein is what everything else is based off of. It's the most, I don't want to say most important because they're all important, right? But you need this protein, so even if whatever your goal is, you don't want to steal from protein if you're trying to maintain muscle. If your protein is too low, if your carbs or fat are too low, it's going to take from protein. And now we're low on protein. If you're low on protein, muscle growth, muscle recovery, muscle maintenance suffer. And that's what we want to avoid. Right? We're going to go to carbohydrates. 4 calories per gram. Energy. You absolutely need carbohydrates. They are not evil. They are not the devil. You need them for energy. They're a good source of energy. If you don't have enough carbohydrates, like I said, it's going to steal from protein. Now we're low on protein. Now we can't maintain and recover. So that's what you want to avoid. So, I'm going to get into the calculations here in a bit. We want to make sure we have enough carbohydrates so we're not stealing from protein and everything else suffers. I wrote down all of those too. Fiber. Okay, so carbohydrates, energy. You also need fiber, and here's where I tell you that. So macro-based nutrition. I can eat anything I want as long as I hit my macros. Absolutely not. Okay, you still have to eat healthy. The reason is you would not hit your macros if you eat anything you want. And I was going to bring a poor example and I forgot. You can think about ice cream, sugar and fat. If you hit your sugar and fat requirements eating ice cream, now you have no protein left for the day. try to find a protein source without fat in it. Good luck. Unless you want to drink like 170 grams of protein shake and be miserable. Right? And now we're thinking, what kind of volume do we have in our stomach? Not very much. So, fiber, for a macro base like we're going to do, fiber is just counted in your total carbohydrate requirements. We're not doing net carbs, if you know what that is. Carbohydrates minus fiber. We're not doing that. We're just straight up carbohydrates. But you need, depending on the person, between 25 and 40 grams of fiber a day. I get a lot more than that. But a vegetarian diet is just higher in fiber. But as long as you hit that 25 to 40 grams a day, that's what we're looking for. What fiber does, volume, that's what I see as the most important, because I'm going to tell you, you should never be hungry. Fiber, volume. Fiber also, that gut bacteria, that's what that eats. So that prebiotics, if you ever heard of that, that fiber is what that eats. Also makes you a little gassy. But that keeps your good gut flora and fauna. You gassy, Mike?
Just amazing.
Carbohydrates are also involved in other digestive type things, cell structure type things. But our big focus is energy and fiber. Okay? Fat, also energy. But look at this, a whopping 9 calories per gram. So here is where fat got a bad rap. Fat doesn't necessarily make you fat. Fat is just very energy dense. So it is very easy to eat too much fat without having much volume. Okay? A tablespoon of most oils is about 15 grams of fat. Right? That's a lot.
It's a lot of calories.
That's a lot of calories. So, that's why fat kind of got a bad rap. But you need fat as a source of energy. It's also involved in vitamin absorption. Anything else that I'm forgetting? Those are the two big things. Growth and development. Oh, cell membranes again. And hormone regulation for fat. Those are your macronutrients. The ratio that we want, this is based on calories. So the ratio, kind of the golden ratio, it's going to be a little different, but the golden ratio is going to be 30% of your calories from protein, 30% of your calories from fat, and 40% of your calories from carbohydrates. That's kind of the golden ratio. That's what the zone recommends too. And your numbers should be close to that. They might be a little off. The Lurong calculates it a little different. There was a good calculator on bodybuilding.com that I used that calculates it a little different too. But they should be roughly in that area. We just want to avoid the 80-10-10 high carb, low fat diet. That was all the rage 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Okay. Any questions on this? Okay. Have I said anything that sounds weird yet? Okay, good. Call me on my bullshit. So how do we find a number? I am going to go very broad and very general, just so you know how a calculator like this works, where the numbers come from, okay? Very broad and very general. It starts with your body weight. Some calculators use lean body mass, which would be your body weight minus your fat. Some just use straight up body weight. The Lurong that we did uses straight up body weight. So, we start with our body weight. Body weight in pounds, you can go in kilos too and multiply it by 2, 2.2 pounds per kilo. But we'll just keep it easy. Body weight in pounds equals grams of protein. Okay? Now, if you selected weight loss, it's probably lower because we're trying to lose weight, so we have to reduce calories. One thing the Lurong does that some others don't is drop all three of your macros. Okay? It works. And if you're gonna mess with any number of the numbers that you calculated, I would make this protein your body weight if you're gonna mess with anything, just so we're getting enough protein. It's kind of weird to me. A lot of people don't hit their protein, which I thought was kind of weird, because being a vegetarian, I actually hit mine, and it's supposed to be so hard as a vegetarian to eat protein. So, we take our body weight, we multiply it by a factor. That factor is activity level. The Zone does this, the Lurong does this, flexible dieting does this. Normally that number is somewhere between like 10 and 20. 20 would be really high, but I think like it might top out at like 16 or something. But you take it times a number, and that is going to give you how many calories you need a day to maintain.
What's the activity level, like how many times you're working out a week?
It would be, you can look up descriptions in this book.
Oh.
It would be like, a 10 would be sedentary. Desk job, no exercise.
Oh, okay.
All the way up to, I think like a 16 would be competitive athlete or professional athlete.
Okay.
And then every range in between.
Okay.
And you don't have to use a straight up number. So if you exercise very hard, but you have a sedentary lifestyle, then we can maybe do like a 0.5. Maybe we're at 12.5 instead of a 12 or a 13. So you can adjust. But that's where it comes from, based off activity. And there's better descriptions in this book and in the Zone book about what those levels are. But that's where it comes from.
Okay.
So calories per day. Let's make it easy and just say we need 2,000 calories per day. I don't know if I'm going to use this number, but that's a nice round number because that's what. See if it says.
2,000.
Normally it says daily values based on a 2,000 calorie a day diet. Okay. Grams of protein and calories per day. We take our grams of protein times, what number do you think? 4
Oh yeah. 4. Yeah.
to equal calories from protein. Fat. How do we figure out fat? Roughly, the Lurong's a little higher in fat, but roughly your fat equals 1/2 body weight in pounds.
Where did that 4 come from?
4 calories per gram.
Oh, I see.
So fat, half body weight. How do we figure out calories from fat? Half body weight times 9. Booyah. That equals calories from fat. You lost? That's why I'm keeping it simple. This is just, you don't even need to know this. But I want people to know where these numbers come from. Okay? How do you know how much protein, fat, and carbohydrates you need? This is how. Okay? So now we have our calories from protein, our calories from fat, and how many calories we need a day. That's how we figure out carbohydrates. So our total calories per day, calories total minus
Am I what?
calories from protein plus calories from fat
No.
equals calories from carbs.
The weekends.
Now we know how many carbohydrates we need a day in calories. How do we convert that into grams? Calories from carbs divided by 4 equals grams of carbs.
I think it's interesting that the carbs are the remainder.
Yeah, right?
Instead of one of the primary
Right.
numbers, it's the filler. That's
Right.
pretty interesting. I think most people look
And-
at it the other way.
So with flexible dieting, the zone's a little different and Lurong's a little different. Based on your goals, this is the number you mess with. The major number. They'll have you mess with protein and stuff, some fat and stuff, some. But so now this is what we need a day for maintenance. How do we know that number's accurate? My 3-week rule. Give it 3 weeks. Eat at this level for 3 weeks. See what the scale does. See what your body composition does. Because maybe we messed up. Maybe we messed up our body weight when we weighed ourselves in the morning. Maybe we had 7 margaritas last night. Maybe we were super dehydrated that morning. Maybe we have 2 pounds of broccoli in our stomach, which I'll get to in a minute. Okay?
That's right.
So maybe we messed up our body. Maybe we were just a little off in our activity level. Maybe we didn't give ourselves enough credit. Maybe we work out a little harder than we thought. Maybe we're not Rich Froning. And we're not at a 21. Okay. So there might be a screw up in here somewhere. The only way that you know is to try it. You can eat at maintenance for 3 weeks and see what happens. See how you feel. Okay?
You can do anything for 3 weeks.
You can do anything for 3 weeks. And now here's my little asterisk. If you are absolutely starving, eat something. You should not be absolutely starving. You should not be super weak. You should not feel like you are starving yourself and dying. Okay? But 3 weeks. You can do it for 3 weeks. And you're going to eat. I mean, even the person with the lowest level is still going to be at maybe 1,300 calories. You're still eating something. And that's on a rest day. So you're still eating something. That's just to keep you awake, basically. So that's where those numbers come from. Now when we, depending on our goal, that's where we mess with those numbers, but that's where they come from. That is for maintenance. Okay? I don't know if I need this board anymore. I might just leave that up there. So one thing that this won't consider, and I want you to note this, for people who are very overweight or very underweight, using that body weight to start this calculation is going to mess with the numbers. If somebody's very overweight, say 130 pounds overweight, now their body weight number is really almost 130 pounds over what it should be. So now they're eating 130 grams protein extra a day. How many calories is that? 520 calories a day extra that they're eating that they shouldn't be. So if somebody is very overweight or underweight, it might be better to mess with that number a little bit, maybe use a lean body mass or something like that. Okay? If somebody's very underweight, they probably need to shove food in their body. So using body weight here is probably not going to be a good option for them either. Okay? And that's where one thing I really don't like talking about with food is if like an eating disorder comes up. Because if somebody has an eating disorder and now you're telling them, this is the formula, you might trigger something. So I want to really bang that point home. is this is not the only way, it's flexible. If somebody's very over or underweight, that's where you probably definitely need to see a doctor and talk. And if it's something with an eating disorder, now we need to see a specialist, maybe a psychologist, something like that. Okay? But I just want to mention that because I get really nervous when I talk about stuff like that when you deal with eating disorder. As I should. You should be cautious with stuff like that. Questions on that? That's how you find it. We ran everybody's numbers, which I like. So now you kind of have an example of where you're at, depending on your activity level. I'm going to leave this up. We might reference it again. So, that's what a macro is. That's how you find it. Now we get into what I think I can actually offer you. Here's what I bring to the table. So I've done a Lurong challenge, I think 4 or 5 times. I was very successful with it twice. And the other 2 times, life happened. And I wasn't as successful with it. But that's life. The last time I did it, I've stuck with it. That ended in started January 16th or whatever, and I've tracked ever since. So 4 months. And I've been messing with my numbers since then, but I've been tracking and I've been using myself as a guinea pig. It's been working. I feel good. So what I can bring, I thought the best way to do this was I picked Monday of this week. I'm going to take you through a day in the life. Everything I ate that day. Open book. So let's start with that. Tracking. Record absolutely everything. Okay? 2 good reasons for that. If you have to write down that you ate a handful of M&Ms, you're less likely to go grab it. Okay? If you're going to do a line of Oreos, you're less likely to do it. Or I'll use Oreos a lot. That's my go-to.
Must have sauerkraut. Must have put with sauerkraut.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, sometimes you get crazy.
Pregnancy?
Yeah, Oreos and sauerkraut. Yeah.
So write it down. The other reason that I want you to write everything down or record everything is then we know. Okay? Bowen, I'm hitting my numbers, but I'm not gaining, losing, or maintaining my weight, whatever your goal is. Okay, well let's look at your numbers. Is that everything you ate that day? Yeah, but I snuck a handful of M&Ms every day. Okay. You did not hit your numbers. Which, I mean, if you're going to grab a handful of M&Ms, grab them, but write it down. Now we know you got 25, 30 extra grams of carbs from sugar, roughly. 120 calories from sugar, roughly, that we didn't account for. Okay. So now instead of actually hitting your numbers, you're a little bit over. And now we know why. So track. I'll talk about some of the other tools in a bit, but a helpful tool is an app. Some people use MyFitnessPal. Anybody? Oh, a lot of people. I use MyMacros Plus, same thing. Anything, and I know food's not supposed to have a barcode on it, but anything with a barcode you can usually scan. It'll pop right up. You enter how much you ate, and it puts it right in your tracker.
That's true to the app you use?
Yep.
Is it
Both
true
of
to
them.
MyFitnessPal?
I
MyFitnessPal is the same
think
way, yes.
most of them these days
Okay.
scan the barcode.
MyFitnessPal, what's that, like $100 a year?
No, it's free.
It's free unless you,
The macro upgrade.
yeah,
You have a premium
which you can
one.
go in and see it all anyway, so
Okay.
I do the free.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Even if
Free.
you do the upgrade, it's like $10 a month.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
$2.99 for MyMacros Plus.
for a month?
No, that's
Just
For-
to buy the app.
I think the
For the app.
Like, $2.99, and you got it.
It's a $3 app, yeah.
Okay.
And I think it's worth every penny. I've been using that one for over a year. And they just upgraded it, and my big complaint is gone. My big complaint, they didn't used to have how many were remaining. You have 30 grams of carbs that you need to eat yet. They didn't have that. They just had where you were at. And now they added that in. So now I know how
My
many
macro
plus.
plus.
I can It's on the App Store and it's on Android too. And you can look at my phone wherever I put it. Oh yeah.
Is it the orange MM Plus?
Yeah, it's orange.
Okay, that's first.
Yep.
MM Plus.
Yep, that bottom one. Yep. And you can look at my phone if you don't want to commit to the $3 and kind of see. Now, a little asterisk here too. Sometimes you'll scan or you'll enter something and it's going to give you 1 gram of that item or 1 serving of that item. So look at what the serving size is, look at what the measurement is.
In case you ate 3 servings.
Because like, for example, one of the fake meat products I eat, it gives me a slice. But I eat 15 slices. So it would be way off if I didn't catch that. I eat like peanut butter. It'll give you 1 gram, but you eat a tablespoon, which is about 28 grams roughly. So you just got to pay attention to that. And the apps, you can adjust what a serving size is and the amounts of each. Okay, I covered the 3-week rule. Okay, the work and rest, that's on your numbers. If you're new to this, you're just starting out, maybe just try to hit those work numbers. Or maybe find a number in between and just try to hit that number every day. If you're having trouble just hitting your numbers, period, don't add a second number into the mix. Now you're going back and forth. Did I work out today? Didn't I? How do I plan for that? Just make it simpler. Try to hit 1 number every day and just see how it works. Usually it takes about a week before you're comfortable tracking and kind of know what to eat. So if you're having trouble, don't worry about having 2 different. If you're like me and you've been doing this a while and you work a shitty schedule, I have 5 different levels that I eat at. Because I have a long day, a short day, long day, short day, workout day where I work and I have very active work, workout day where I do not work, and then a rest day. A short rest day and a regular rest day. So I have 5 different levels. But I've been doing this for over 2 years, so I kind of know how it works. This is the only absolute I will tell you. No effing soda.
Oh.
Sorry, Scott.
Are you gonna burn your throat?
What do
I
you,
know that sweet burn of the
what do
Coca-Cola.
you drink? Regular?
Scott loves
How many
Coke.
days?
Straight.
And a nice
How many
liquid
a day?
LaCroix or something.
Oh, Coca-Cola.
Yeah, you can
How
have
many a
LaCroix.
day?
How about like?
I've cut it down. Last night I had one of those. Well, I had a bucket of chicken wings too. So that was a cheat day. So I probably have 1 a week. 1 Coke.
Steady or stuff?
I've cut it down.
It was Friday.
I can do
I drink
Yeah.
that, but I don't know where the jury is on that one.
I mean,
I know that like most of those are, well, and I know that's like a natural no-calorie sweetener. Most of that type of product, it messes with your brain. I drink it, I don't see an effect from it, but that's just me. I don't know where the science is on it.
like,
I know like the big ones like sucralose, aspartame,
I mean, they're artificial.
yeah.
But the steady one.
Right, I think they're fine. The big one is sugared soda. Liquid sugar. 0 fiber, one bottle of Mountain Dew has what, like 70 grams of sugar? 60 grams of pure sugar. That's a fifth of my carbohydrates a day, and I'm eating at the top level of pure sugar. There's no fight. Your body doesn't even digest it, it absorbs it.
Just a sugar habit.
Right.
When I used to work construction, I had 3 cans before noon.
Right. And it's addictive.
It's just straight sugar. You just run it.
And it's also paired with caffeine. I have nothing against caffeine, I like caffeine. But that's also addictive, so now you pair those two things together.
I quit drinking coffee.
That's a big step. That's a big step. That's one of the best things you can do. Also watch the soda-like substances that market themselves as energy drinks, sports drinks. Gatorade is not a healthy alternative to water.
What about and I'm a big water drinker and I will have no problem doing without pop. But when you want something flavored, like what about like the Walmart brand that's like flavored water?
Like LaCroix?
No, like the free and clear,
I would look what's in it.
Sounds like a sport.
Yeah,
Oh, that stuff, yeah.
avoid aspartame, I would say.
you know what I'm talking about?
There is a couple of them though that don't have, because I really like a lot of sparkling waters, and there are some that
Well,
don't
that-
have aspartame, and there's some pretty.
There's
decent
those
ones.
cans of that like Zevia or
That's what I like that. That's stevia sweetened, and I
so you
smoke
can
it,
use
I don't know.
stevia.
Well, I don't know where the jury is on it. I don't feel a bad effect myself personally from it. I don't know where the science
But if
is.
you're a coffee drinker and you normally put Splenda or flavored creamer in, then stevia would be your
Yeah,
best substance.
that's what I
We
would say.
use a lot, we use a lot of that.
Try it out, yeah.
That's the
I may
sugar.
use some of my numbers on
And hey, and that's one thing about this flexible dieting that if that's where you want to dedicate some numbers to, go for it.
So are we not allowed to drink Gatorade then?
I would say no.
Because where am I supposed to get my electrolytes?
Because you really need those electrolytes, right? What's an electrolyte?
I don't even
Exactly. Electrolytes are one of the best marketing campaigns that has ever been done. Electrolytes are like vitamins and minerals. You should get enough of that from your food.
It's got good
I like
Yeah,
these.
right.
Even banana.
Everybody's low on potassium, so they need to drink
So as long as we're on liquids.
Right. Drink water. we sell Kill Cliffs too, right? They're fine.
These are really good.
They're really good.
What's your alcohol bias? None?
No, I drink a couple drinks a week.
The Lurong, it looks like it's okay with beer, but doesn't like spirits. And usually
Right.
you see like drinks
I-
something hard like a vodka water.
Well, I
so-
think because you're usually mixing those spirits with
Coke.
sugar. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, like if you were to pick
An old fashioned, maybe a
a
margarita.
vodka water.
Can I point my finger at Mulder again?
He had one glass of wine.
Clips, you can find some clips where it doesn't have all soda.
But if you had to pick, what are you saying?
Like
Some
vodka water.
you can find some
Yeah.
ones that are
Yeah.
Water.
do not have soda in it.
No whiskey.
And
But like
outside of the wrong, I think that's a better way to go.
Whiskey with the
Because there's less carbohydrates.
I did the wrong one time. We paid for the wrong. right?
Yeah.
It's like $30.
Yeah. I think those are my big tips. Okay, so let's get right into it. Now that I have, does anybody have anywhere to go? If you need to leave, just leave. No, that sounded mean. If you need to go, you're excused. Okay, I'm not going to be insulted. So let's get right into it. Breakfast. I had a protein shake. I had a mix with cold brew coffee. Cold brew.
mix
Coffee.
your protein with your coffee.
Yep.
Oh.
Irish really good.
And Lenny and Larry's cookie. Right there. Dropped on
Where
the
do you
floor.
get those? Or what are those?
Amazon.com. I want it back, but you can look
He's
at
like,
it.
what?
So,
Substitutions that aren't something you buy in a package.
here is my example of I am not perfect. Okay? That cookie is by no means health food, even though they try to market it as it. It says something on there like healthy cooking or
So
something.
you get it as convenience.
Right. Convenience. I can shave about 15 minutes off my morning, and I appreciate every single second of sleep that I get by having that instead of I dubbed it $8 oatmeal. Actually, Kathy Fuller dubbed it $8 oatmeal because I buy the expensive oatmeal. Where'd my oatmeal go? There it is. I buy the expensive oatmeal. I mix it with expensive dark chocolate. I put expensive jelly in there and expensive peanut butter.
It sounds expensive.
And I make it all that morning. But if I eat my cookie, I shave about 15 minutes off my morning routine.
400 calories for that cookie.
Right. So, I'm not perfect. I make it work. That works for me. Would that work for you if you need 150 grams of carbohydrates a day? Absolutely not. That's a third of your carbohydrates a day. You're going to be starving, and you are not going to feel good.
Heavy.
But that's what I do.
What do you buy for your cold brew? Do you just mix cold coffee and then
I've been buying it too. It's in a bottle. Everything's in a bottle. It's easy.
But you could use cold coffee.
You can make cold.
What's-
You can make cold brew easy.
So if you're,
My protein shake, I buy the Fairlife. It's just a protein shake in a bottle. I've made my own too, with protein powder, flax milk, almond milk, in a blender.
so if you're gonna look at that, if you're gonna buy a protein powder, does anybody ever buy some of the,
I buy the Lurong. I like it. The chocolate one is pretty good. They just started making a vanilla one. I got that. It's okay. It's a lot foamier than the chocolate is. But that's-
Earth-fed muscle's a good one.
Give the Forza vanilla from NutriShop.
that's really good. That mix is really good. She doesn't like it plain.
Is there like a
drink it with
better
water.
protein
It's
than
really
that?
good.
Read the labels on anything. If you're
Lurong
looking
rice
for the
is
best
not
one.
chocolate.
You mean source?
Yeah.
I think Whey's probably the go-to.
Whey's
or
post work. Casein is before bed.
Casein before bed.
Yep. And whey is post
Only
work.
1 gram.
And then they actually make like beef protein.
right?
It's like powdered muscle
I like
tissue.
it was Progenics one. That's only 23
Progenics.
grams of protein, and it actually has like 6 grams.
Because I've heard of obviously whey and casein, but
Yeah.
That was a I bought that one.
Whey is
Vegetarian options, I've tried just about all of them.
digestive.
Garden of Life is the best one, I think.
I like taking make a mistake and take the wrong one. If I take away before bed. it's
Yeah, read the labels on them.
in the
You know,
body
maybe I
is
would need to
digestive.
sooner than
Oh, really?
I can feel it.
Huh.
But if I
Yeah.
take, no, if I
I'll
take
get the
casein
coffee.
sometimes, I don't do it. Usually I take that before bed if I make it. You got to sustain the release of protein.
Huh.
But yeah,
So the two other notes on breakfast. I am front loading my carbohydrates in my day.
That's your choice.
And my recommendation. You want to load your carbohydrates earlier in the day so you have the day to burn them off and use them. I don't want to just say burn them off. To utilize them. Your body needs them. You have the day, it's there, ready for you to use. And you want to center it around your workout, which I'm also going to get to in a minute. But carbs early in the day and around your workout. And there's one other note I have. Balance your protein throughout the day. So we'll jump ahead just a little bit. 59 grams, 20 before my workout, 37 after, 55 at lunch, 49 for dinner. Pretty balanced. 59, about 57, 55, about 50. So throughout the day, my protein is balanced. My muscles are getting a constant stream of protein to maintain, build, repair. That's kind of what you want to do for carbs, front load, center around your workout, protein throughout the day. Fat, I'll get to in a minute, but later in the day when you're going to feel hungry. Okay, because fat is more satiating. That's it for breakfast. That's it for breakfast. Pre-workout. Fuel
When do
for
you do your
fire.
workouts, Ron?
Huh?
When do you do your workouts in the morning?
It would be my morning, yes. It's 6:30 p.m. Pre-workout, fuel for fire, coffee with milk and maple, Bobo's toaster pastry. I'm not perfect, right? So what do we have here? We have carbohydrates, again, front loaded. What can we take away from this meal? I want to talk specifically about my coffee. So I love coffee. So to answer Mitch's question, this is my morning. So I have caffeine before my workout. Coffee is a good tool. If you don't like coffee, maybe tea to help. If you like soda, to help with that, because it's going to give you that caffeine, which is addictive. So it can help you wanting soda. You can also, what I've done with coffee, where's my mug? It's my, damn it! That mug over there. I think that's, Sean's wondering where you are.
Yeah, sorry, I can't talk right now.
I think that's 20 ounces. And in that I put 2 teaspoons of maple syrup. It's just enough that I enjoy it. So again, I'm not perfect. No sugar, according to Greg Glassman. I use a little sugar. But I like my coffee like that. It, like Crystal said, that's worth some of my carbohydrates. Getting a little bit of maple.
Sort of flexible part.
That's the flexible part, exactly.
And how far in advance of the workout are you doing that? I mean, I guess you were pre-workout.
Yeah, as close to it as I can get it, where it's not gonna. And it's pretty light as a meal.
I'm thinking from a carb perspective. When I come at 5:30, I haven't eaten anything since lunch.
Ooh,
And
I would say an hour, half hour maybe. Far enough from it where you're not going to be full and bloated, but enough so you can have some energy. An hour, like even a light snack.
Okay.
That's why I like those fuel for fighters. Those were risky, I thought, when I ordered them for the gym to sell them, because they're weird, right? Adult baby food.
Yeah.
But people like them. I like them. But they're easy. And I mean, and just because we sell those and I like them, I mean, I'm not trying to sell.
No, I understand. I'm
something
thinking-
that's easy.
Yeah, I'm thinking more just the timing.
Yeah, something that's easy and
I haven't looked at them in a while. What about an RX bar? Are they?
yeah, something like that. That would be fine. That's a good balanced light before workout. And you see pre-workout powders. I don't know. That's a lot of caffeine. And speaking of caffeine, so another way to answer your question, Mitch, with the coffee, I would avoid caffeine 8 hours before bed. So if you work out at night, I would say probably don't have your caffeine before your workout. Because now we're disturbing sleep if we have caffeine within 8 hours of bed. It's really 6.5 hours, but I say 8 hours. Okay. I think that's that on that.
What's the fuel? I mean, is the FFF an actual product, or that's just an
Fuel for fire.
Those big food packets.
Okay.
They're easy.
What do you think, like, Bang, the sports drinks?
I don't know. That's fine, I guess. Read the label.
That's a
Look
nice way of
what's
saying
in it. It's a lot of caffeine.
300 milligrams.
That's
My
what
thinking
we
is
call
that
bang.
if it makes your pee turn bright yellow, it's probably not the best thing for it, because a lot of those things.
Low battery.
B complex.
Am I correct? I mean, that's what happens.
Vitamin B in it.
I have a portable charger with me.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I take B complex and it turns.
If it dies, it
bright.
dies.
Oh.
Yeah, so that, I don't know. There's caffeine in it. Read the label. There's a lot of junk in them too.
Yeah.
Post-workout, similar. And after my workout, I cannot get calories in me fast enough. my last round or last couple minutes of the workout, I am thinking about eating because I am hungry. And one thing I want to note here for people, a lot of people I don't think eat soon enough after their workout. I would shoot for within half an hour. Your body needs food after that workout. You just burned a lot of it off. Get some back in you. Get some calories back in you. Your blood sugar drops during the workout. You need to replenish that for recovery.
Are your protein bites a prepackaged thing, or do you make the little?
No, I buy them.
I got a bunch of stuff in here, huh?
Take a look. Here's my protein bar. I like the 1 bar.
Are you necessarily, if that's post-work, is volume or just something?
Something. Protein, fat, and carbohydrate. I try to balance that one a little more than my pre, but something. I need, and quick.
Yeah.
So Fuel for Fires are great. Bam. And then a protein bar.
Yeah.
That day I've happened to start adding those in, but I wanted to be an open book, so I just picked Monday, and that's what I have Monday.
Of those protein bites, how much of that big you eat?
3 balls.
It says
I eat them too.
And 3 is a serving. Yeah. What else do I have on this one?
Does anybody make those?
I like
Carrie,
the oats.
Carrie made some that were good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
with the peanut butter and oatmeal, or the oats.
Do you use peanut butter or do you use almond butter?
I use peanut butter
I like
like
the thing
before.
you use peanut butter. You could use almond butter, but I use peanut butter. But, and then I buy those like dark chocolate chips from Enjoy Life, and then put those in it.
Enjoy Life is a good brand. Their big thing, no.
Don't they buy
You can buy them.
Yeah, and
Cash Rice has
Specialized.
one. Cash Rice has a lot of that brand.
Enjoy Life, their whole thing was they're a allergen-free facility. So there's no nuts. No, they do have nuts in that stuff.
I think they're dairy-free, soy-free.
It's like soy free, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Maybe that one is sunflower. Maybe there's no nuts in that. Is there nuts in that or no? I think it's sunflower. Yeah, nut-free, soy-free, egg-free, dairy-free.
This one just has like a pumpkin seed.
Pumpkin seeds, there we go. That was kind of where Enjoy Life started. They did an allergen-free facility and they've grown since then. It's a good company. I buy them because I don't have time to make them. And that's what you'll kind of see from my whole thing is I don't have time.
Convenience.
And that's why I'm not perfect. Do what you can. Okay, we good on that? Lunch? Lunch, broccoli with ghee, clarified butter, a cheeseburger, ketchup. So my cheeseburger had a bun. I eat the fake cheese because I don't handle dairy very well. But you can see the numbers. High protein, high fat, moderate carb. So I'm still loading a bit of carbs from my workout. That's the first meal after my workout. Now here's where we're starting to talk about volume. Broccoli. That day I happened to have 190 grams of broccoli. Show and tell time. So here's one of your tools, a scale. Zero it out. Let me show you what 190 grams of broccoli looks like. Oh, 191. So why did I do that? Try to eat that much broccoli and tell me you're hungry. I double dare you. So here's where I want to mention. So you might be hungry.
I see that package.
If you eat a ton of broccoli, you're not going to be hungry. You're going to have so much volume in your stomach. And here's my other secret. I don't like vegetables. I don't. I hate vegetables. As a kid, I was the pickiest little kid you'll ever meet. One of my mom's favorite stories, they got me a hamburger from McDonald's, and it had onions on it, and I threw it in the garbage. What a little brat, huh? I was actually a good kid. That's one of the only stories I was a little brat. But I found a couple vegetables that I eat, and I wouldn't say I enjoy them, but I tolerate them. Broccoli, Brussels sprouts, and cabbage. I can eat them. Look how much volume this is. I dumped the whole package in there.
Are you eating it raw, or are you cooking like?
Sometimes I cook it. That day I roasted it with the ghee.
Okay.
The important thing, it's going to give you volume. It's going to give you fiber. If you season it right and cook it right, it's not going to be bad. I've never been like, man, I can't wait to eat my broccoli. But I appreciate not being hungry. Okay? And
Seasonings are fine.
Yep.
Whatever. I mean, not
Again, read the label. Sometimes they sneak sugar in it.
like a seasoned salt or a garlic salt.
Right.
Or
Yep. But here's where you'll notice the difference between being hungry and having a craving. I always have cravings. Like I said, I'd love to do a line of Oreos. I could do one right now. But you're not going to be hungry if you eat enough vegetables, if you get enough volume. Okay? That's my big thing on broccoli. That's why I'm going to tell you to eat vegetables. And I don't like them, but it's worth it to not feel hungry. And that's why you should never feel hungry. I would also like to do an experiment, but I'm not a biochemist or a doctor, on how eating a lot of that broccoli slows down your digestion. I mean, I know it does, but I'd like to know some of the science behind it. So tools, scale, very helpful. Containers, now you can pre-package your own food, make your own food and bring it with you. Now you're not getting in the slump. Now you're not. Another one of my favorite stories, we were doing a Lurong and we had somebody say, well, I forgot to pack lunch and I just had to go to McDonald's because I didn't have any food. If you had time to go to McDonald's, you had time to go to the grocery store and get a salad. You chose to go to McDonald's.
Can get salads at McDonald's.
You can get salads at McDonald's.
Never have.
Right? And here's where we get to the flexible part. If you have one bad meal, it's not even a bad meal if you make it fit. Just don't let that bad meal turn into a bad day, turn into a bad week, and now you're doing whatever you want. Bad meals happen. I have bad meals all the time. I've had a couple bad days in the last 4 months. Just make it work. Do the best you can. Any other notes on my lunch? Fat and fiber. Okay. So fat will also help you not feel hungry. The fiber will not help you not feel hungry. And later in the day, I'm starting to look at, after my dinner, I'm not going to be eating for 8 hours probably, maybe a little more. So now I want to make sure I have good fiber, good fat. Scott's doing the math.
Yep.
Let's see, my last meal is at 3 in the morning. 12 hours.
I think that's pretty typical.
12 hours, yeah. 3 in the morning till 3 in the afternoon. 12-hour fasting. And I wake up hungry, but you gotta look at that. I'm not gonna be eating for that long, so I want something slow digesting. Still have balanced protein. Other tools, I would buy, if I was you, and because I did it myself, a bunch of these. Measure your ketchup, 2 tablespoons. Measure your dressing, measure your oil, measure everything. Okay? And if you have these spoons, you're more likely to do it. If you've been doing it a long time like I have, I know about what 2 tablespoons of ketchup looks like, so I can kind of eyeball it. But until you kind of figure it out. I was also going to mention this, I forgot. So I'll do that now. So my oatmeal. On the bag, serving size, 1/2 cup dry. And that has 33 grams of carbohydrates in it. At the time, I did not need 33 grams of carbohydrates. You don't have to have 1/2 cup of the oatmeal. Have 1/3 of the cup. Maybe you need a little bit more carbohydrates. Have 2/3 of a cup. Have 1/4 cup. You can adjust the serving size. You have to do a little math, but you can adjust the serving size. That's why I like when it lists it in grams versus volume, especially for vegetables. Does it have it on it? Sometimes you'll see vegetables has. No, it'll say like 1 serving is a cup of broccoli, but does that mean? I'm putting my dirty hands in my broccoli. Pretty cool. Does that mean one big one sits in that cup, or does that mean I find a bunch of little ones and I pack that cup full? There could be a big variance in weight in that. So I like going by weight. It makes it a little more accurate too.
Just wash it off.
Measure everything. I measured my ketchup. 2 tablespoons. Ketchup, there's a lot of sugar in ketchup. I try to buy the best ketchup I can buy. Some dressing has sugar in it. Also measure the fat in the dressing. Measure everything. Measure and record everything. Good on lunch? Dinner. Broccoli again, same amount. Avocado oil, it's a better cooking oil than canola or olive oil has a low smoke point. So coconut's good. I think like the seed oils are the ones you kind of want to avoid. I think. Veggie sausage, Miracle Noodles. Miracle Noodles are low-calorie noodles. They're weird, but they give you a noodle, so it is what it is. What are my notes on dinner? So, a couple things on your last meal of the day. This meal might get a little weird. There's been days where I've added a couple crackers to my dinner because I was low on carbohydrates. So I had a regular looking dinner and a couple crackers. Right? I had a regular looking dinner and a fuel for fire because I was low on carbohydrates and protein. It might get weird. Take your numbers. Give it a try. What's going to help you do that? This is a Bowen original, I think. I call them balanced foods. So a balanced food would be a food that has primarily one macronutrient. Crackers, carbohydrates, almost pure carbohydrates. 1 gram of protein, 7 grams of carbohydrates, 2 of which are fiber, and no fat. So if I'm low on carbohydrates, for me, that's a good way to balance that. White rice maybe for you. Baby food, I told Ryan Welder. Baby food in pouches, it's like a fuel for fire, but there's no protein in there. If you're low on carbohydrates, you can put that baby food in your backpack. Popcorn, sure, why not? Carbohydrates. Okay? Fat. Fat's the easiest one. Oil. That's why I have avocado oil.
Mixed nuts.
Nuts have some protein and carbs in them.
Oh, true.
But but that's fine. Nuts and nut butter, that's a good option. Protein is, I think, the toughest because it's hard to find pure protein. Eggs have fat. Jerky's a good option. Jerky has fat.
Cottage cheese?
Cottage cheese, and again, like low-fat cottage cheese, low-fat yogurt, protein powder, right? But that's where you get to really weird-looking dinners. Now I added a cup of protein powder to my yogurt to hit my protein. But, I mean, make it work, and you'll get better at it as you go. So find a couple balanced foods that you like, that work for you. Seasonings, I had that noted. Nice work. A lot of seasonings are free, meaning there's no macros. Read the label. If it has sugar, there's going to be carbohydrates, which might be fine. Dressings will have fat, but they might not have carbohydrates or protein. Spices, most spices are free. A lot of hot sauces are free. You just have to watch for sugar again or fat. Pickles are free. Pickles, you have to watch for sugar again.
Hot sauce and pickles?
So read the labels.
That's a lot of sodium.
all.
Your blood pressure. Sorry.
He's got it.
I'm about done, I think. Anyway.
You gotta, Bowen, do you find yourself eating, when I talk to people, I tell them I eat food rather than meals.
Yeah.
There's nothing like fettuccine Alfredo, I eat a noodle. And
Right.
It's eating food rather than a meal.
Right. Thank you. So I call that the salad principle. Another Bowen original. That sounds like a Scott. Two ideas independently developed coming together. So food instead of meals, the salad principle. Treat food like a salad. Think about food, not meals. I don't have fettuccine Alfredo. You have a noodle, you have a sauce which is mostly fat, and a protein. Carbohydrates, fat, and protein. Vegetable, fat, protein. So, what's a salad? Vegetable, your greens. Fat, your dressing. Protein, your chicken. Think about it like a salad. A taco is a salad. Carb, tortilla shell. Vegetable, salsa, lettuce, whatever you want to put on it. Fat, maybe your avocado. Maybe there's some fat in the meat that you cooked. Meat, protein. Think about it like a salad. Think about it in parts. It doesn't have to be partitioned broccoli, chicken, potato to be partitioned. It can be all mixed up. Think about it in parts. That's helpful. And I got this question, what about cooking for a family? You can do the same thing, make tacos for your family, and if your family's not tracking, that's fine, but you can track yours. I had 2 tortilla shells. I don't know what would be a lot of grams of, how many grams of chicken? 100 grams of chicken? That'd be a lot.
Yeah.
50 grams of chicken.
I'd go probably quarter cup. Quarter cup.
That's fine too.
Yeah.
And then whatever else you put on it. So you can measure for you and not measure for your family. Break it up. So my total daily target, 210. I had 220 grams of protein. 320 was my goal for carbs. I had 305. So here's where my numbers are screwy. 160 grams of fat. I hit 166. So that's where I hybrid the zone. The zone says once you hit a body weight you want, double your fat to maintain your calories for activity. I don't know if I would recommend anybody else do that.
Typically, if you're eating fat, that's not going to add to your body weight. It's the
Typically,
carbs.
yeah, and that's why they do it, because you're getting the energy without spiking your glucose or spiking your insulin
Well,
going to
and you're
storage.
eating good fats, not fat fats.
So, but that's why my numbers are screwy, so take that with a grain of salt. But, and here's the other thing. 3,500 calories a day, 3,560, and I hit 3,600. So that's pretty close.
Is that a work day or a rest day?
That is a workout day and a work day. And I walk around all day.
So that's your highest.
That's my highest.
intake day of you.
Yep. Yep. But that's my most common day. 3 days a week, that's what I'm at. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
How far down does your rest day go? Just calorie wise. Curious. Rough.
I don't remember. I can pull it up once.
No,
my-
it's not.
Yeah, I can, significantly lower.
Yeah.
Like 1,000 calories less?
Yeah. I think I would 2,200 on my rest day that I don't work. And that might be a little high too, but I'm trying to gain weight, so I don't want to go calorie deficient. So in closing, and we can ask questions after, but the big takeaways: hit your numbers and track everything. Give it 3 weeks. Plug your ears, Scott. No soda. And know the difference between being hungry and having a craving. Okay? Those are my big takeaways. And you know what? If you want to have a soda, make it fit. Just know that it's pure sugar. And I'm going to call you a hummingbird.
That's what I do with popcorn. I could eat popcorn every single night. So I'm like, where can I spare just to have a little bit of popcorn?
But your little bit of popcorn is a shit.
It's like the whole thing.
She'll literally better how we look at it, like you pop your own popcorn.
I pop my own popcorn, yeah.
Versus buying like.
Oh, I
116.